Hey everyone, welcome to Brandable Minute. Now, this is a new series where I talk about helpful tips in branding for just a minute or so. I'm Christopher Bartley, and let's get right into it. So, our first one, this is our first episode. So, the first one is going to be about what branding actually is. So there's so many different definitions, so many different theories. But here's the theory that I like the best, and I've actually been using this one for maybe about 6, 7 years now. It's Seth Godin's definition. Now, he actually wrote this in his blog in 2009. I think this was like 2009 in December, December 13th. 2009. If you look up define brand, you're going to find him. And you guys already know Seth Godin. He is we call him the guru, the expert, the aficionado of marketing. And branding and marketing are so tightly bound together, separate, but they're definitely connected. So here's what he says in his blog. So we're going to read his blog, and then maybe we may not need to just kind of expound on it just a little bit. Here's what Seth says. He says, here's my definition. A brand is the set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that, taken together, account for a consumer's decision to choose one product or service over another. If the consumer, whether it's a business, a buyer, a voter, or a donor, doesn't pay a premium, make a selection, or spread the word, then no brand value exists for that customer. A brand's value is merely the sum total of how much extra people will pay or how often they choose the expectations, memories, stories, and relationships of one brand over the alternatives. He goes on to say, a brand used to be something else. It used to be a logo or a design or a wrapper, but today that's a shadow of the brand, something that might mark the brand's existence. But just as it takes more than a hat to be a cowboy, it takes more than a designer prattling on about the texture to make a brand. If you've never heard of it, if you wouldn't choose it, if you don't recommend it, then there is no brand, at least not for you. So, he's making a very great point here because I don't know how long ago, I'm not sure if he's talking about, the actual literal days when you actually would brand cows, or maybe 20 years ago, right? Where the logo was really what the brand was. And I think it's still, even till this day, in 2020, I think there's still a misconception that that's what the brand is. And it's so much more than that. So he talks about these 3 areas, and y'all know how I like to sketch things out, right? So let's go ahead and share this right quick. This is what he's saying. It's four components. The first one is this. Pull up my screen here. Stories is number 1. Expectations. And I don't think he had a particular order, but if he did, I definitely messing it up. Memories. And number 4 is probably the most important one, relationships. Branding tends to be very ethereal, very abstract. And that's because it actually is. When you tell a story, you're telling someone about how great, how amazing, maybe how terrible, how negligent the actual product or service, restaurant, store, whatever it is, clothing, you're telling them something about the product or service which lends to the brand itself. But that's just not it. What if you had a terrible experience but amazing customer, well, not a terrible experience, let's say a terrible product, but amazing customer relationship, right? A customer service. You just might be willing to give them a second chance. That's still a part of the brand. The brand could be, man, their product sucks, but they really know how to treat people well. So the whole goal is you want to be able to be stellar in all 4 of those areas. Amazing stories, brand storytelling, and not just coming from you. That's marketing. The storytelling is coming from the individuals who are now speaking about or translating what they have experienced. So your goal is to be able to tell the story without really telling the story, right? That's when they're walking into the storefront, when they're getting onto your website. You got to be able to share exactly what the promise is. As a matter of fact, I would take Seth Godin's 4 elements: stories, relationships, memories, expectations. And I would boil it down to that last one, but with a different word. Instead of expectations, it's a promise. What are you promising your customers? What are you promising your clients? Because with the promise, then they are going to have those expectations. Based on if those expectations are met or they're underserved or over delivered, then they might have some stories to tell. And before the stories, they might have to recall from their memory exactly what they experienced. And not only that, but it's the relationship that you built between them and the customer. Okay, so we're already going into 5 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this short. But yeah, in this first Brandable Minute, just understand that a brand is not about your logo. It's not just about the look and the feel of the thing. It's very tightly connected to user experience. It's the entire touch points, everything from them parking their car to walking into the store, or from clicking the button to getting to the shopping cart online. All of that lends to the experience. So remember, it's those four things: stories, relationships, memories, and expectations that causes that person to choose your product or service over and over at a premium. No premium, no branding. No promise, no branding. Chris Bartley here with our first of hopefully many to come Brandable Minutes, and I'll see you in the next one.